y'all, it's your girl Cheryl Underwood, and I'm working on my podcast, but the podcast I want you to check out is the Rome Show podcast. I heard they doing it right.
And we're live. Welcome to the Rome Show. I'm your host, Go Rome, on the Rome Show podcast, and today I got a very special guest. How you guys doing?
We're doing good. How are you?
Doing good. I appreciate you guys coming on the podcast.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
Thank you for asking us.
Absolutely. So, you guys are doing a lot of big things. You guys are always busy. You guys are founders, live shows, press interviews, media events. When did you guys get started?
I'll have you. Go ahead.
Well, we started, both of us, Florence was in radio, and I'll let her talk about that. Really, I used to write before it was cool in the early 2000s. I started writing, or late 1900s, to be honest with you. I started writing. It was not a thing yet, so I wrote for a couple of places, and no one really seemed to be interested in really doing anything big. So I really wanted to be a kind of a bigger writer. So I started getting a really large following. I got some good guests. Everything seemed okay. And then I wrote for a website in politics. And then the politics of today came up, and it got very crazy. I was getting death threats. I mean, it was just insane. People were taking pictures of my house. It was just, so I stopped doing that. And I really didn't want to write anymore. I was really burnt out with all the negativity. I wrote an article about Ken Stabler, the famous Raiders Hall of Fame quarterback, and it was entitled The Only Time I've Ever Cried for an Athlete. And I talked about some of the things that I felt about him and how great he was and things like that. And it went viral, and I couldn't believe it. All of a sudden, ESPN called me. I did a 25-minute interview on ESPN. University of Alabama Radio asked me if I'd come on. So ABC, CBS, I was on nationwide, all these things. And I said, maybe I'll stick with it. So I started getting into it. Eventually, I met Florence, and in the last 3 years, we've kind of taken this, last 2 years or so, we've really taken this seriously, where before we worked other jobs and did different things, so we didn't have the time to do it. And then it just kind of took off. TMZ called us. They asked us 4 times to be on the show. They've asked, and that took off, and it just kind of roller coastered from there. And what's funny now is TMZ has asked us to be on a few more times, but we declined. So not that we're big or anything, but we just don't. They want to be a little bit more limiting on what we can say about our show and things like that.
On the marketing and promotions.
Yeah,
part of it.
So that's kind of in a huge nutshell what it did. When I used to I was a director in a hospital, and I started out in TV. We did a lot of news TV shows from our lab. And so I was kind of the one, they always wanted to be on TV. So I did a lot of TV and a lot of radio. And then I was athletic director for a high school, and I got to do some radio too for that, being a coach and being an athletic director. Excuse me. So I just kind of was always I did public and corporate speaking. So I kind of always was in it. I never really got off on it or the attention, but it's always fun to meet new people and to talk to people.
And I actually was in education. I worked in special education, and everyone who is in education, and especially working with that particular community, knows that the burnout is massive. And after doing it for several years, I really felt like, that I needed to make a change. And as much as I loved working with the children, I found that there were just other things as well that I had always dreamed of doing. And radio was one of them. I had always dreamed of that. Even when I was in college going for education, I had taken, a journalism class, creative writing, took a class on media. I mean, I had just had such an interest in it. And to make a long story short, while I was still teaching, I took a job on the weekends. I was hired by Cumulus Media to work at the 2 radio stations I grew up listening to in Connecticut. So that was a pretty big deal for someone who had no prior experience, just a desire, I guess you can say, a dream. And they hired me in the promotions and marketing department. And I learned so much. And I got to do the live events because a lot of the promotions and marketing, I was part of the street team. That's what it's called in radio. You get to go out and do all the live shows and all the live broadcasts, and you get to meet all the people, you know, who pay for the commercials, who have all the different advertising. And you learn a lot about how to market. And it was probably one of the most valuable jobs that I ever acquired, that I ever had. And that's how I met James, to be honest with you, because he was doing a lot of radio. He was doing ESPN. He was on CBS Sports Radio. And I had such a love for it. And I was just hired by Cumulus. And even though he was in the medical field and I was in education, we had that in common, that passion. And I also had a website. And on the website, I would write articles based on interviews I had done, because working at the radio station, you are going to meet celebrities. It just kind of comes with the territory. And I was able to talk to people that, you know, that I really looked up to and thought were really cool. Like the Harlem Globetrotters were like the first like famous, you know, well-known entity that I had ever met. And they were so cool and so nice. And I got to interview them and I wrote an article about it. And that's how it all kind of started for me as far as interviewing. And James had the idea to take my website and take those interviews, and rather than write articles, let's podcast. Let's do the interviews. Let's do audio. And from audio, we went to video. And like he explained, TMZ reached out to us. And that was like, wow. And basically they said, what you're doing on your podcast, we want you to do on our show. We want you to cover celebrities, cover the stories, the breaking news. We'll give you the topics and you guys can do that. And they did. They reached out to us several times and we did do the show several times and it was so much fun. But then when they came back and reached out again, the past, I would say 2 or 3 offers, they didn't want us, I guess you could say, marketing ourselves and our show and our podcast and what we were doing. They wanted us to just come on and talk. And at that point, you know, we were kind of like, you know, we have this thing going, we have our brand, and we love TMZ. We are their biggest supporters. They have been wonderful to us, and we still feel that way. They gave us the opportunity of a lifetime. But we did decline the last couple of times. And yeah, we're doing our thing. We get invited to press junkets, which is really cool too. So we basically, I would say, you know, broadcasting, interviews, podcasting, all that is now our full-time job. So it's been great.
Nice. Sounds like a very hard-working journey.
Busy. We're so busy, but we love it.
A lot of big things. And you guys, it's just y'all two, or you guys have like a team, or just y'all two?
When we first started, I thought to myself, I have a business background, so I had a long time, I had 2 medical businesses. And the one thing I noticed with a lot of the people that I did business with is when they made money, they spent it. They liked flaunting. They like having 10 employees, someone doing their scheduling. And I'm a control freak, and I just thought, I've got to learn all of this. So I taught myself how to edit. I taught myself how to do video. I taught myself how to do the camera. I taught myself how to do all this stuff because I realized we don't want to spend $1 million when we first start, especially when you're not making any money, because which most people do, then you get in a negative cash flow. And if you get in a negative cash flow and you don't make it, because it takes years really to get a great foundation. So we do everything on our own. We have no employees. We have nobody helping us. We do this all on our own. Florence does most of the marketing and most of our PR stuff, and then I do whatever, you know, I need to do.
Oh no, he does a lot. He does the podcast. He does all the technical stuff, the directing, the editing.
But that's kind of how we do it. We also, when we've trusted people, it's a different day. A lot of people, they don't have the work ethic. Not that we're the greatest, but I mean, we really work hard. And I just think people don't take it as seriously as we do. We want this to be a career. We want this to be a big deal. And it's starting to be that. And it's because, I started with 19 podcast friends. All of them said all my ideas were dumb. I was stupid. I was all that. Well, I'm the only one still podcasting. And all of them are out of it because they failed. So you have to follow your dream and you have to do it your way. And that's the way we do it. I'm not saying that that's the only way. If you need help, get help. If you could afford it, get it. I'm just kind of in that way. I didn't want our business going in a negative cash flow for so long. So that's kind of what my vibe. So long-winded answer, no, we don't have help. It's all us.
Very interesting because like I do everything myself, and like you said, a lot of people don't take it serious, like the booking, the editing, the marketing, and do you feel like, well, you just said a lot of people don't take it serious. Do you think that's ever going to change, or you just feel like only we would know because we're doing it?
I will say this, and James and I have had this discussion. I don't feel that everyone who does podcasting necessarily wants it to be their full-time job, and that's okay. Because we know a lot of podcasters that have. I mean, we had full-time jobs to begin with. Like I said, I was in education. He was in the medical field, which is extremely demanding. So we only did our podcast on the weekend. And for a long time, he was in California and I was here in Connecticut. So we weren't even in the same state, but we really, really wanted the forum to take off. It was the Forum Celebrity Podcast. Now we're the Forum Media Network, because again, a series of things had taken place which kind of elevated us to get to the next level. But it was a lot of work, and not everybody wants this to be their full-time career. But if you do, the content's really important. Consistency is key. And like James said, the work ethic. And not everybody has that, nor do they want to. Like I said, this may just be for fun. And we've met a lot of podcasters where this was just for fun. And there's nothing wrong with that.
I think the biggest thing is you have to go. I always tell people, what is your goal? Because if you're just going to do podcasting because everybody else is doing podcasting, then what is your goal? Do you want attention? Do you want people to know you? Do you want to just have a good time? We wanted to make this a business. So if you're going to do that, you have to run it like a business. And that's how we do it. We don't want a lot of negative cash flow, because if it fails, my feeling is if it fails or if we screw up, then it's on me. And I feel more comfortable than trusting someone. And we have a lot of people and it fails and they don't really care. It doesn't bug them because it's not really that big a deal. To us, it's a huge deal. The key to our thing is when Florence said, do it yourself. I'm kind of one of these guys that talks tough, but I'm a softie, and I will let people, I'll give them a million chances. And when I give them a million chances, because I want them to do well and I want them to succeed. But the thing is that they sometimes don't, or they're too selfish or too lazy, or they want it all the love on them, and they want all the attention, where I don't care about attention. Maybe it's because I've gotten a lot of it in life. I don't care. It doesn't, I don't care about being popular. I don't care. I just want us to do well. And I want people like you. You're now our friend. I want you to do well. I get off more on others doing well, and so does Florence, than I love to do well. It's great.
Oh,
but,
sure.
But
Yeah.
it would break my heart if the people around me weren't doing good.
I will also say this, just to piggyback off of what James just said. Some people also want it like today. Like they want to be famous, or they want to have 100,000 followers, or they want to have 5,000 subscribers on YouTube immediately. Unless you're famous to begin with, unless you're like Dr. Phil doing a podcast, it just doesn't happen that way. You have to work really hard. And we've always said it, this is 7 days a week for us. When we take a day off, it's because we know we need it. We are burnt out, and we do need the weekend, off of social media. We do need maybe a 3-day weekend to do nothing but just, focus on family or focus on life, on other things. Because we do 3 to 4 podcasts a week. And those are lives, so we do them live. We also do interviews. We interview celebrities. We interview NFL legends. We've interviewed so many wonderful people. And again, you have to be willing to be flexible. Like in our case, we've had interviews way early in the morning or really late at night, had them on the weekends, had them on Sunday. You have to sort of tell yourself that that's how it's going to be in the beginning, and that maybe you will work 7 days a week. And we've done that for years. But now we're sort of at a place with the network that we can carve out time to ourselves. But there are people who do want it immediately. Like they see what you're doing. They see where you've been, or where, you know, people have had you on and talked to you and elevated you.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Cheryl Underwood, and I'm working on my podcast, but the podcast I want you to check out is the Rome Show podcast. I heard they doing it right.